ready? Well, good morning. I'll give you a little bit of my background. I was born in Lewiston, and we lived in Lewiston until I was 10 years old. And then we moved to California. And we were there 14 years. And 2 of those years I was gone in the Army. And 1 of those 2 years I was in Vietnam. And then when I came back, that's when I had decided I wanted to become a police officer. So I started taking police science courses in college. Then I broke up with my girlfriend, and my whole family had moved back to Maine. So I said, well, I haven't lived there since I was 10. I'll go try it out for a year. If I don't like it, I can always come back, because I had passed the test for Los Angeles Police Department. So I said, I can always try again. So I came back, and I went on the Lewiston Police Department right away. And I served 25 years on that police department, and I worked my way up through the ranks, being promoted, and then I was chief of police for 5 years. After that, I was appointed by President Clinton as the U.S. Marshal for the District of Maine, the whole state of Maine. I served there for 8 years. After that, I served as Associate Director of the Maine Community Policing Institute at the University of Maine, Augusta. And I served there for 5 years, training police officers. Okay? After that, I ran for mayor of Lewiston, and I won, and I served 5 years. Then, because of term limits, I had to stop. So I did that 2 years ago. Now I'm running for mayor again, because I can do that again, okay, after taking a break. So, I'm running for mayor again. One reason, I love serving people. Another reason, it gets me away from the honey-do list. So, I guess I'll open it up to questions. There's a reporter right there.
How is the mass of Somalis that have moved to Lewiston put a strain on social services?
How has it put a strain on social services?
Yes.
Well, right now, when they first came, it was about 50% of the general assistance that the city provides. General assistance is the sort of the last means of helping people who are in need. And so if you qualify and you meet all of the requirements, the city will help you with your rent, or they'll help you with food, or whatever. And so about 50% of the budget was spent on the Somali immigrants when they first came. Now it is about 13%. So that means that they're working, they're getting, they're supporting themselves and so on. So, so the strain is not as bad, okay? The general assistance is still about the same budget. So that means that, 87% are non-Somali on general assistance in Lewiston, okay? That answer? Good? Okay, yes. Okay.
Why do you think that certain residents of Lewiston have responded so negatively towards the homes?
Because we fear what we don't know. We fear what we don't know. Did some of you kind of question what was going to happen here today? When you walked in, not knowing me? How I'd react to you? Huh? Until we get to know each other here over 20 minutes, right? So, once we get to know each other, we say, hey, not bad, So, that's the thing. And so we have a history. Here in Lewiston, when the Irish first came, they're the ones who built the mills, they built the canals. When they first came, they were rejected by the people who were already here. And there was a group called the Know-Nothings. I don't know who they were, but they were called the Know-Nothings. They burnt down the first Catholic church because the Irish were Catholic, okay? So they hated them. But then they contributed. the Irish community contributed. Then the French Canadians came here to work in the mills. Well, then there was that division between the Irish and the French Canadians because they didn't know them. They speak French. They have different customs. You know, until they started going to school together, started getting to know each other, started marrying each other, and so on. Now, the French Canadians, the majority are still, of the population is still Franco-American. So they're here. Now we have a new group coming in. Not only Somalis, but Djiboutis, Sudanese, Congolese, they're coming in. Oh, they look different, they dress different, they have a different language. Oh, I'm shying away. Oh, we're losing everything that we had, and they're taking over. And that isn't the case, okay? And then once you get to know each other, you say, oh, gee, pretty nice people, you know? So, in my last job before mayor, I at the Community Policing Institute, we trained police officers, 600 police officers throughout the state, from Kittery to Fort Kent, in different groups. And I brought in people from different cultures to speak to the groups. So let's say we had 50 police officers, and I had 3 or 4 people. One of them, I don't know if you met Kamar Bashir. Okay. She was one of the people that I would use sometimes, okay, to talk about their culture and to have that dialogue with the police officers, to have a better understanding. And so I had them from Somalia, Eritrea, Sudan, Burundi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Ghana. Those were all African countries. I had them from Dominican Republic, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Mexico, from Cambodia, South Korea, Thailand, 3 Native American tribes, Franco-American, African-American, and 3 or 4 per session. And I had the opportunity to hear and see all of them. And what rose to the surface with all of these different cultures were the similarities, that which we all see. Quality of life, family life, employment, education, religion, music. That which we all seek. We all seek the same things. So we really see that we're one humanity. Do you know that all of us in the world are at least 50th cousins? If you just do the math. I have 4 grandparents, 2 on my mother's side, 2 on my father's side. Each of those people has 4 grandparents. Each of them has 4. So boom, 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 right? Before you know it, we're covering the world. So there's a relationship together. Do the math. Okay, next question. Let me go to someone else first, and then I'll come back to you. Okay?
How did you react when the letter was written?
Okay, the famous letter. I was not mayor, I was U.S. Marshal at the time. And Mayor Larry Raymond, okay, different Larry. Sometimes people think it's me, you know, I didn't write the letter. I think that there were the fear that, that this young lady was talking about. And they were talking to the mayor, oh, what's happening in our community, all these people coming in and this and that. So the mayor, in trying to respond to them, wrote this letter asking them to slow down the growth coming in. And so, and he did that publicly. And so when that goes public, it enraged those who were being told to stay away, especially after you're invited into the country. It's a free country, you can live wherever you want. So to be told to stop coming is offensive. And then it took a life of its own with the media. And it traveled not only throughout the United States, but throughout the world. Radio stations in Somalia were reporting, okay? So how did I feel about it? I don't think it was helpful. But I know Mayor Larry Raymond. He's a fine man, and he's a caring man, and you know, he serves with me on the board of directors of the Franco-American Heritage Center. So talk about culture, you know, we serve together on that board. Does that answer it? Okay. I'll give you another shot. Go ahead.
How will you, do you think it's good that the Somalis came to Lewiston, or is it affecting the community in a negative way?
Or what?
Or is it affecting the community in a negative way?
I think it's very positive, okay, because, as I said, we were losing population. Did I mention that earlier? We were, okay, different groups here. We were losing population, okay, because the mills closed. And they went south for cheaper labor. Then they went overseas for cheaper labor. And so our buildings that used to hold 42,000 people, now we're down to about 34,000, okay? So a lot of available housing. So it was sitting empty. So the Somalis came in, filled those buildings, which meant that landlords were able to keep operating and so on. So they helped our economy. They are purchasing cars, they're purchasing gas, groceries, and you know, various other items that they need. So our population's gone back up a little bit, otherwise it would have kept going down. Because the young people here, educated, you know, we're going to school elsewhere outside of Lewiston, Auburn, and getting jobs in other places in the country. So, you know, who is going to be here to help pay the taxes and so on? So, I say that, well, if you look at the pictures of the mayors on the bottom floor of City Hall, you have first English names, Irish names, Franco-American names, and then the last picture is of me. There's 10 frames that are empty. Before we get to the end, I firmly believe we'll have a Somali mayor in Lewiston, okay? Because they have children, okay? Their children go to school, they live here, they're going to become adults, they're going to vote, and the Somali mayor will be here. Have you seen Zamzam yet? Okay. Zamzam is on the school committee in Lewiston. She was elected. Now, no, she was appointed. She ran for office as a write-in candidate. But now she's running as a candidate. And I think she's going to be elected. She contributes greatly. She has 2 kids in college, and she's a wonderful person. She's a good friend of mine. Okay, did that answer? Okay. All right, I'll come back. Yes, there's a reporter right there, I see.
Has the amount of Somalian families that have moved to Lewiston helped fill empty jobs?
Well, there weren't many empty jobs. Some of them are traveling to jobs, okay? I talked to one Somali young lady. I thought she was in high school. Because I asked her, I said, what school do you go to? She says, I don't go to school. She says, I'm married and I have 5 kids. And she says, I work the 3rd shift at LL Bean. Okay, so she travels to Freeport every night, the 3rd shift. While we're all sleeping, she's working. So some are going elsewhere to find jobs. But to fill jobs, that's one of the problems is we need more jobs. So we need to present our community in a positive way where business owners will want to move here and establish their business and provide jobs. So we always are hopeful for developers to come in and create jobs. So we need jobs. So some of them can be government jobs too, you know?
You know the Somalis, the Somali people are embracing and learning their culture and they're living in LLB. That's like the most main place.
Right,
That's like,
yeah. And they work in call centers and so on, you know? They do a wonderful job. I go to Panera, you know the Panera there's a Somali lady who works there. Very nice lady, you know, big smile when I go, you know, so, yes.
When the Somalis moved to Lewiston, did it make your job any harder?
Did it making what?
When the Somalis moved to Lewiston, did it make your job as mayor harder?
No, no, I was there to serve, so I'm there to serve whoever's there. So, no, it didn't. Made it, I think, more enjoyable, really. Yes, another reporter there.
How have the crime rates and population changed from when you were a police officer?
From when I was a police officer, well, I brought in, when I was police chief, well, first of all, when I was a police officer, we had 2 blocks full of bars. Bars and social clubs, okay? And there was a lot of drinking, drugs, a lot of violence, fights, and so on. So I did a lot of battling when I was there as a police officer. Those things went away in time. So, so as a police officer, give me your question again, because I forgot the first part.
How have the crime rates and population changed?
Okay, so when I got promoted through the ranks to chief of police, I'm a firm believer in community policing, where police not only ride around in their cars, air conditioned in the summer, and have the radio turned up or whatever, but where I put police officers in bicycles downtown. I brought in community-oriented policing. Community-oriented policing is police working in partnership with citizens to solve problems. And we trained all of our officers in a problem-solving model. And so what happened is our crime rate started to reduce. Okay, and it's been a good trend because it has continued going down. Now people, they talk about, oh, Lewiston. Lewiston has a lower crime rate than Portland, than Bangor, than Auburn. Surprising when we say Auburn. But, you know, but the media, you hear in the media, so they come here. See, we talk about being reporters, right? In Portland, that's where they're based, the TV stations. So they report on the good things happening in Portland, they report on the bad things happening in Portland. In Lewiston, we have good things happening and we have bad things happening. But for them to leave Portland, drive to Lewiston to cover good things, well, they have them there, so why travel? But if something bad happens, they're right up here. So what happens when people are watching TV? They're seeing, oh, Lewiston, oh, another crime, oh, Lewiston, oh, Lewiston. What's happening there? It's a crime capital. No, it isn't. It isn't. And the figures, the facts are there that it isn't. It's a wonderful community. All right, reporter.
alright, this is my last question.
Oh, the tough one now.
Has the Somali community put a strain on housing? Out, like, you said that they were filling up the apartments that were empty, but has it affected, is it now affecting the Somali community because they're like running out of housing to fill?
They're what?
How is the Somali community putting a strain on housing?
A strain on housing? Well, we had a lot of available housing. So it really isn't a strain because there's still available housing, okay? Because we had a large population that lived there and worked in the mills. You know, when you had 5,000 people a day working in those mills, you know, that's a lot of families. So when the French Canadians came here, 1 million people came from Canada throughout New England to work in those mills. Okay, so they had, you know, they built these tenement buildings and everything. People lived there. They walked to the mill. They walked home, and so on. Well, when those mills went away, so did people. They looked elsewhere for jobs. They needed work. Okay, so that left a lot of available housing. So it's not a strain on housing. Okay, as a matter of fact, it's helping, because let's say we had no Somalis here in those buildings. What would happen to those buildings? Those landlords couldn't get any rent money, so they'd walk away from those buildings. The city would have to take them over, knock them down. Now you have an empty lot. So when they were full and the landlords were there, they were paying taxes. Well, now you're getting no more taxes for that building or the property. So you keep doing that more and more and more, that means everyone else has to pick up the cost, okay? Because you still have to pave the roads, you still have to plow them, you still have to educate people in school. That's all costly. So the less people you have to help pay, the more it costs everybody else. So, you know, I think they're helping the economy. Yes?
People have been saying that that since the Somalis have come, that the crime rate has gone up. But if it has, do you believe that it's actually from people committing hate crimes against the Somalis?
Well, I think there's a few hate crimes, but I don't think it's significant. And I don't think that the crime rate's gone up either, you know. It's remained pretty level right now. So, no, you know, we've had crime right along, you know. I mean, look at our prisons, you know. Our prisons are full. So we've had it right along. It's not Somalis are contributing to more crime, no. You know, I was a detective. I investigated a lot of crime, so, yeah. And that one, and then there, and then I'll come to you, okay? Yes?
Is it true that it's a lot of like when Somalis commit crimes, is it true that it's a lot of juvenile crimes?
A juvenile crime? Yes, there is some. Okay. Here's a thought that I have. Is we have traditional Mainers here. They go to school. Some of them, their parents buy them a car so they can go to school. Some work to pay for the things they want. You know, the cell phone, which I should pick up. So they're from poor families. They want the same things, right? So if they can't have a job, they can't get any money, someone comes up to them and says, hey, if you transport these drugs, okay, you can get paid this and that. You can buy those things. Okay? So they'll do that. Others will steal so they can have some of the same thing. So the point is to have everyone be educated and work so that they can get good jobs, and so when we have a good educated workforce, we can attract businesses to the community. Okay? Young lady, yes.
It was about, do you think police officers are discriminating towards the Somalis for
No.
like crimes or anything? Or
No.
if they were like when they...
No, because the police department has a policy against hate bias crime, hate bias profiling, okay? If they do, they get in trouble, okay? So we haven't seen that. Because one of the things is to try to get them to work, and that cultural awareness training we did for law enforcement, those types of things, So once you understand people, you say, hey, they're no different than we are. They do different customs, different things, different religion, but they're people like us, you know? And you had one last quickie?
Why do you think it's so important to welcome the Somalis into the community?
I think it's important because we all have to live together. We're all neighbors. We need to get along with our neighbors. Right? With our classmates.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry.